Hi guys, today I have a game for you played by Anish Giri. Um, this was the final round of the 2020 Tata Steel tournament. This is the final tie breaks for the first place in the tournament. Anish Giri was playing the white pieces against Jorden, uh, which was quite surprising that Jorden was one of the top players in this tournament, as there were people like Magnus and MVL playing in this tournament, where and Alireza. These players were more thought to be more stronger than him, but we see Jordan at the end of the day prevailing, playing the black pieces. Even second place for him would be amazing. So, and Anish was playing exceptionally throughout the tournament. Let's see how the final round went. Okay, so he started off with d4 and d5, and Anish Giri plays the London system with bishop f4, a very nice opening for getting a nice strong attack. Okay, so here I wouldn't have personally played. I played the London system. I wouldn't have played knight f3 here. I like the triangular pawn structure. I would first do this, then I'll bring the bishop, then this knight, and then probably I'll decide if I want to bring this knight here. I just delay this move sometimes, or other times, like, yeah, in this position also knight f3 is fine, so that you can play knight e5 to meet bishop d6 with knight e5. However, however, he decides to go knight f3, which is completely fine, and knight e7, knight f6, and here again I would have just played c3 to avoid these complications. After this, he played e6, but he could have tried some line like this and putting pressure on the d4 pawn with the knight, and putting pressure on the b2 pawn. The only way to defend both is by moving the knight to b3, and now we have a fairly playable position for both sides. Really, here at least, if black does not have an advantage, at least he is equalized, and white has no direct attack. Black has the open h file. It's a very fine position for either player, and this knight isn't doing much here. So is this knight. But yeah, so it's kind of equalish here. Okay, so however, Jordan went for e6. Both of these players are Dutch, by the way, and c3, bishop d6, challenging the bishop for this diagonal. Okay, now what white is saying is, by making this move, saying if black takes, okay, I'll take, but now I have the open h file for future attacking prospects. Here black plays h6, bishop b5, bishop e7, and knight e5. Putting pressure, finally a really strong move. Putting pressure on the knight, and now Jordan plays queen b6, attacking the bishop. So he just plays a4, gaining space in the queen side. Very good move, and maintaining the pressure still. Here Jordan castles, which is a good move, getting out of the pin, and Anish castles. Here I think is the first mistake of the game. So Jordan here plays a6. In my opinion, this is a slight inaccuracy, because it gives white quite good chances in the queen side, and Anish does a good job in executing the initial plans. a6, and now bishop takes, pawn takes, and now we have this crippled pawn structure. And well, white here has a slight edge because he can create a quick queenside expansion. But let's see what was probably a better move. Probably knight d7, challenging this central knight, now forcing it to make it to capture. Because otherwise, even taking would be a good option, or provoking like f6 e5 is also an idea here. So taking, and now it's this position is definitely just very equalish, and definitely e4 must be played. Here the thing is, black has many moves which are good, whereas white has only very few ones, and white has to be precise here. And after e4, challenging the d5 pawn, takes, and now definitely taking would work, but this is again after bishop b5, it's fine for either side, but I would say black is slightly better here. And even if he takes, this is probably better for black. Even though white's a pawn up, black just has quite good counterplay for the pawn. So let's go back a bit. So a6 was played instead, and takes, and here Anish plays takes, which is also a very good move. Another good move could be also queen b3, challenging this queen. If something like rook b8, a very natural move, just forcing white to take here. And here actually there's a tactic. White can just grab the pawn here. Queen can't take because you'd hang the rook then. So for example, if queen takes here, the rook falls. I don't even think there's compensation for that here. Even here you can just swindle your way out, I think. Yeah, with queen f4, and then you just, okay, even if knight h5, you just swindle your way out of this position, so there's not much harm. However, if the most natural move is queen takes, and now you're attacking, you're just forking, and the most logical move again is just take, and after king h7 takes, and now you're just trying to make use of this outpost, and black is going to try to make use of this outpost. So yeah, this is, you wouldn't really want to take with the knight, the bishop yet, because this bishop's quite bad there, locked by its own pawns. Pretty sure white has a decent position here, a very decent position, just because the black bishop is chained by its own pawn. Okay, but takes, and Anish expands on the queen side. Here I expected Jorden to just play queen b5. Queen b7 is also a harmless move, but queen b5 looked more natural, preventing this knight d3 and knight c5 ideas with bringing the rook on b1, trying to gain a tempo, and that's what we see Anish Giri trying to execute. And we see knight b3, trying to clamp the c5 square. Right now it's not possible because we have two defenders, and white would just have bad pawn structure if he plays it right here. But after queen to b5, white gets a tempo, centralizes his knight, all's good. And after rook here, rook b1, placing the rook the same file as the queen, Jorden makes the first very big, like, so-called blunder of the game. He plays knight f6. The best move would have probably been rook e8, and after knight c5, now we just take with the knight, and we actually preserve the bishop, which is very important, so that if the bishop takes, bishop can recapture on c5. However, after queen to d7, white can play rook b8, rook b6, and now after bishop takes c5, rook can take on c5, and bishop takes d4. After which you'd think, oh, okay, the rook is hanging. How can we save the rook at the same time still threaten the bishop? And so the way to do that is you have to move rook d6 or a6. I think a6 the best, since it's well, it restricts the queen even more than d6, because d6 queen can go somewhere on a7. So now queen goes to b8 and we can take, but actually engines here prefer bishop takes c3, actually sacking the queen here, and the engines think that this double bishop pair, right now bishop b5 is a threat, just winning the rook in the corner, so I don't know, some almost necessitating the queen to move. And okay, here black has a bishop and a rook for a queen and a pawn, a bishop rook and a pawn for white's queen. But okay, this pawn's gonna fall soon, and you're gonna have two pawns, and these pawns, this position's very difficult for white to open up, especially with the bishop pair. I think black is slightly better here, and this passed pawn can be very, very annoying in the future. So that was an engine line. However, Anish Giri plays knight f6, and Jorden plays knight f6, and Anish Giri plays knight c5, a very fantastic move. This was his plan all along. It was to keep this knight in this very strong outpost, and basically, if after bishop takes and pawn takes, now the b file's open, and white's really active. Okay, here again, Anish plays rook b6, very natural move, attacking the pawn on c6, and has a good advantage, but I think he might have overlooked this idea that black had. Knight e4 attacking the c5 pawn, which is really a really big thorn in black's position right now, because the d6 vulnerable, the b6 square is vulnerable because of the c5 pawn. So I think the defense for that pawn is very important. So I would have played probably some f3 here, but again, I'm just commentating on the game. They were playing an actual blitz game, and the time controls weren't that lenient. There wasn't increment, so it was very difficult for Anish Giri, as he spent a lot of time in this move. After knight e4, he was thinking about what to do, and he took, and knight takes e3. But I would have played f3, a very precautionary move, and here actually e5 is the best move. After it takes, queen e7 and bishop d6, we takes with check, and well, this position we have a pass pawn, a lot of pressure on d5. I think definitely this is winning for white due to the pressure, and this pass pawn is just ridiculous. And after something like if knight d7 is played, like one of the only moves possible, apart from actually just, it's probably the best move, is just to sacrifice and take this pawn. Well, already here we can establish the fact that white's doing very well, because he's just an exchange up, clear exchange up. And okay, so that was forced if this line was played. However, he went for rook v6 without playing f3, and Jorden makes best use of his opportunity by playing knight e4, takes, and now takes on c3, and knight b5, challenging this knight. and basically threatening to, if white were just to play h4 or something here, definitely a big blunder. Attacks the queen, and if pawn takes, then queen will just grab the rook. And okay, yeah, there is the intermediate moves, but I would just grab that, and this would lead in extra material for a lot of extra material, in fact, for black. So rook b6 and knight e3. This is already very complicated, and here Anish Giri was like under a minute or something, and it's so complicated, and Jorden is very resourceful finding these moves also when he was under time pressure. Knight's trying to come to c4, trying to somehow block this white pass pawn that's looking very dangerous. However, here white is still winning, but after Anish Giri made this blunder, c6 blunder, because he overlooked this knight e2 fork, which would save his knight, I think, under time pressure. So here, definitely the best move is some queen c3, just moving the queen and maintaining the position. Even after knight c4, you can try pressurize the d5 square. Now you have the open file. It's just white's pieces, even though black has this nice central knight on c4, which is controlling a lot of the squares. Even over here, white has very good control over this diagonal. This pawn is a pass pawn. The knight's very nicely centralized on d4. It's a very nice position. So after c6, queen. After c6, no, I mean after c6 here, well, Jorden just perfectly plays this position. He takes the best move, and he takes on d4. This is a very important intermezzo, because if you grab, then I would just grab, and now white's clearly a piece up, and it's very important that white takes here. What Anish Giri might have thought is, oh, okay, he takes, and now, okay, I'll take, and now I'm a piece up. But what he missed is that white would just, in this position, black would just play knight e2 and fork, and next move he would just probably even take here, and this is certainly a fine position that will work in. Yeah, black is a pawn up, and in these positions that could be the difference. Well, definitely black's pushing here. White was winning and now black's pushing, so that's a very huge change. And now again, the position has stabilized a bit. Here, okay, even though black's a pawn up, white has quite a few pieces on board to compensate for that, or in the long term compensate for that. And now the bishop's well placed on c5, very well played by Anish Giri, and trying to just close the position. And here, the best move actually, which engines recommend, is actually rook takes c5. Go for the exchange sacrifice, because this a5 pawn is quite weak, and you have an extra pass pawn, and engines like this position, and I think it's quite good for black here. However, obviously from a human's perspective, it's not that attractive. And here Anish Giri was offered a repetition by Jorden. Jorden was ready to repeat the moves Anish could have played and could have repeated. However, Anish decides to fight on, and probably because he was winning and he felt like he needed to convert this game. f6 and rook e3, bishop c5, well placed, cutting the c file. Oh, I'm sorry. So going the c file now. Bishop d6, cutting the b file again. So just Okay, Jorden sacrifices back the pawn. Now for initiative. And now we have the blunder of the game after g5. So white plays g5, and now we have the biggest blunder of the game. Jorden plays rook takes f4, hanging his rook. He had like 15 seconds, so and there's no increment, so they were just playing super fast here, and Anish takes properly, but Anish is down to like 5 seconds or less than 10 seconds here, so it's so difficult for him to convert, and he just panics. And okay, Jorden tries to make some g4 g3 comeback, and yeah, Anish just plays rook a7, and that just well, now the g pawn can't be stopped, and g2 and finish, the game's over. And after check, king d7, Anish Giri loses on time, and also on position. This position's winning for for um for black regardless. So here it's just, this queening is unstoppable because of this pawn that's in the way of white's defense. What could have been played is probably bishop c5, and now take and try to free up these squares so that these all fall like Pac-Man. Now this is, it's a quite not so easy conversion. And well, okay, obviously in a classical game Anish would have easily converted and Jorden would have definitely resigned, but there's no reason to resign when your opponent just has 5 seconds. He was just a few moves away from a change in time control where he would have 2 seconds increment, like 60 moves after 60 moves was played. So they were really like 2 or 3 moves behind, and that made the difference at the end of the day. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed. This is a very interesting match, very exciting. Thought Anish would actually prevail because he played fantastically, not like Jorden did, but you know, we want like Anish Giri's been in the top for quite some time over the years, and Jorden proving himself as the underdog this match. Like he was quite resilient when he had to be, even after blundering he played on and finally paid off. So hope you guys enjoyed. See you next time.